How much money is your money making for you? I repeat, how much money is your money making for you? There's an expression that goes around where they ask the question, it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep. But a lot of people are leaving out this little detail in the middle. And this little detail in the middle is dealing with the information that asks the question, how much money is your money making for you? Because if you are doing all the work and making all the money, then what happens is you are placing yourself in a position where you're limited, because the amount of money that you make is only dependent on how much time you can put into making that money, how much energy you have into making that money, and your desire of how much money you want to make and how fast you want to make it. You know what I'm saying? All of these are going to affect how much money you make and in what period of time you actually make that money. You know what I'm saying? If you are working for your money, this is another important thing to remember. If you're working for your money, then you're at the mercy of your employer. You are giving your employer or your boss all of the power. Now, some of us might say, well, I'm in the barber industry. You know what I'm saying? I don't got no boss. I do my own thing. I set my own schedule. I'm free, blah, blah, blah. But there's one thing you have to remember. As one who is self-employed, you have 1,000 bosses. Your clients are letting you know how much time you can take off, when you can work, when you can relax, what times you work, how early you work, how late you work. You know what I'm saying? Because these are the people that are paying you. But if your money is working for you, then you are taking back that power and you are taking control of your life, of your time, you know what I'm saying, of the things that you are able to do when you have your money working for you. There's a lot of us in this industry that's putting in a lot of time. And because of the fact that we have the ability to perform, there's a lot of us who have what I would call a false sense of security. Because at the end of the day, there's going to be a time where you're going to have to be away. You know, a loved one's going to be sick or pass away or things of that nature. There's going to be times where, you know, if you're by yourself, you might need to take a vacation, or you might have a family that wants to take a vacation, especially if you have children that are in school and things of that nature. You want to hurry up and do that before they get back to school. So there's times that you're going to have to take off. So if you are away from the barbershop at those times, you're not making money because you're not cutting hair. You understand what I'm saying? But if you place yourself in a position where you have your money working for you, like it says in Rich Dad Poor Dad, if you are building that asset column, then those assets, and for those of you who don't know, let me back up for a second. There's a difference between assets and liabilities. Assets are things that are putting money into your pocket. Liabilities are things that are taking money out of your pocket. You understand what I'm saying? So what you want to do is you want to build up your asset column, because these things are putting money in your pocket so that you'll be in position where you will have your money working for you. Why? Because you invested in these assets that are giving you a return on your investment. So depending on how big and burly you build your asset column is going to determine how much money you actually make, which increases the potential of what you're able to keep. And you don't have to necessarily physically work for every single nickel, penny, dollar, comma. You understand what I'm saying? So it's important that we get smart when it comes to this money thing, especially those who are in position where we are barbers or stylists or nail techs or makeup artists, you know, so on and so forth, right? So if we are smart on how we're doing this, then we'll place ourselves in a position where we won't have to work until we can't work anymore. And we're seeing too many of us doing this in this industry. But if we learn to place ourselves in a position where we are working smarter and not harder, we will use our discipline to place ourselves in a position of power financially. So it's very important that we start to educate ourselves, to understand different types of investments, different ways we can make, our money work for us, whether you learn real estate, whether you're learning life insurance, whether you're learning the stock market. There are so many options that we have that we can work with that will place ourselves in a position of power so we don't have to work so hard for every single dollar. Now, there's some of us who have gotten creative, right? And we have invested in certain talents and abilities that we have. There are some of us who are writers. There are some of us who are singers. There are those of us who are rappers. We make beats, things of that nature. And hopefully we're utilizing those talents to be able to put money in our pocket so that, we can have something working for us, because that is something that we can put into motion to where we don't have to be behind a chair cutting somebody's hair in order to get paid. So there are other options, that we can go into, other investments. There's opportunities that come to us all the time, and we don't want to end up poor. POUR is the acronym of passing over opportunities repeatedly. And that is all because of a mindset. People are coming to you with opportunities, and because of the fact that you might have been burned in the past, or you're just not educated, about a certain lane or a certain field, you pass it up. Like, nah, no, that's not for me. No, I don't think so. I'm not going to do that, so on and so forth, and just keep passing up opportunities that keep coming up to us over and over and over and over again. If you keep passing over opportunities, you're going to place yourself in a position where you wish you did. You know what I'm saying? So what we want to do is we want to stay in lockstep with those who are building wealth, with those who are giving options, with those who maybe even who are like-minded, you know what I'm saying, and are helping you to take a closer look into a certain industry, a certain field, or a certain mindset, or a certain type of investment, so that we can make our money work for us. A lot of us are getting paid every single day. So we're getting paid every single day. I know I did this when I was younger. I would go ahead and go out, whether I'm going outside, whether I'm, going on a date or things of that nature, and spend that money just knowing in the back of my mind that I'm going to make it right back tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? And how many of us know it doesn't always happen that way? You know what I mean? But that's the mindset. And if you have the mindset, it's a lot easier for you to kind of get like real loose, you know what I'm saying, and undisciplined with your finances. But understand this, money has to flow, which is why they call it currency. So there's some of us who are making a lot of money. There's some of us who are making money every day, right? And there's some of us who are just saving and thinking that, if we just had this money to the side and keep it wherever it is, it could be, under your mattress, in a safe, in a bank account, that is going to give us a sense of security and we're going to be all right. But there's something very important that we have to understand that is taking place in the economy. You know what I'm saying? Inflation is a real thing. It's inevitable in the economy that we're in right now. So what's happening is, by having that money just sitting in a bank account or sitting under a mattress or say auntie in them house or whatever the case may be, you know what I'm saying? You're actually losing money. And that's why I talked about early in this video, actively placing your money in a position where it is going to work for you, where it is making money for you. So it's important for us to find out about different types of investments where we can get an ROI, we can get a return on our investment. The reason why I'm so adamant about sharing this information, sharing what I learned about financial literacy, is because of the fact that I've seen too many barbers die broke. They worked and worked and worked and served and done so many things for the community and so many things for the people, and they spread so much love, and their barbershop really became kind of a central point in the neighborhood, a central point in the community where politicians can go, where single moms can come and, kind of get some guidance for their sons and their daughters from an uncle in the community, where people can come and, they're seeking some answers because there's been some injustice in the community. So they're coming to the barbershop to have their meetings or to speak to the barber and be able to speak freely about different things that are going on with injustice in the community. And he worked and worked and worked and served and cut people's hair for funerals and baby showers and job interviews and first dates and so many different things that have worked and served for so many years. But because of the fact that he or she never really put something aside for themselves on a regular basis, they just worked until they couldn't work anymore. And once they couldn't work anymore, they was barely making enough to take care of themselves. And then they grew ill. Shortly after retirement, they passed away. And I've seen this happen on several occasions. And I'm sharing this information because I want more of us to work smarter. Clippers to Commas is a movement for us to be able to, with the help of God, save our own lives. This is not just about making some money. This is not just about, flossing or whatever. It's not just about, having a glow up or come up or whatever you want to call it. Because none of that stuff is real. None of that stuff is important. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that not only are we going to be okay, but we set up generational wealth for our children, for our grandchildren, maybe even our great-grandchildren. And we had the opportunity to do that in this industry. But we're just going to have to be disciplined about our cash flow. Are we putting money to the side for charity? Are we putting money to the side for retirement? Are we putting money to the side? And when I say money to the side, I'm not just talking about, like I said earlier, where it's just sitting under a mattress or something somewhere. But put it someplace where it's in a bucket that's growing, where it's planted, like as in a pot. You know what I'm saying? Where it's growing. You got the soil in there. You're watering it. You know what I'm saying? You're talking to it. You're singing to it. Whatever the case may be. And it's growing. These are things that we want to do. We want to have a bucket for our future. We want to have a bucket to be able to give away, our daughters when they get married. Maybe even assist with our granddaughters. Not because their parents are going to need us to, but we might just want to. You know what I'm saying? We got the extra dough. You know what I mean? We worked hard towards making this happen, and we've been blessed to be able to see it. Man, I want to bless my granddaughter. You know what I mean? By the grace of God, I don't have any grandkids yet, but I want to be prepared for them. More so than I would prepare for my children. Because I wasn't. Because I knew nothing about financial literacy. You know what I'm saying? So because of that, I was placed in a position where we struggled for a long time. Because I didn't understand what I was doing when it came to money. You know what I mean? And for years and years, I studied business. Over and over again, I studied business. I went to conferences. I got mentorship. You know what I mean? I've learned a lot about people skills and building business. But after a while, you know what happened? The light came on. You know what? I need to start studying money. And that's what I started doing. You know what I'm saying? I started reading books like The Creature from Jekyll Island. I started reading books like Happy Money, books like the Psychology of Money, the books like Why You Deserve to Be Rich. You know what I'm saying? You Deserve to Be Rich by Troy Rashad. You know what I mean? Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And the list goes on and on. With the books that I've read, and also association I've gotten around, mentorship that I've gotten around, coaches, multimillionaires, went to conferences like Invest Best, you know what I'm saying, Wealth Weekend, Podcast Summit, so many different conferences I went to, PC Live, you know what I mean, learning about real estate, so many conferences that I went to in order to be able to learn more about true wealth, learn more about financial power and freedom that I can pass on for generations. You know what I'm saying? Let us not get caught up in the gossip. Let us not get caught up in the games. Let us not get all caught up in the things that are just temporary, but things that we can set in motion that can bless our families for generations. For generations. So we have to think beyond just being behind the chair. We have to think beyond just going from client to client. Yes, the prices of haircuts are going up and it's beautiful, but we also got inflation coming up right behind that. You know what I'm saying? Gas prices going up, prices of bread growing up, things of that nature. So the dollar is ended up being worth less and less. So we have to make sure that our money is making money. You know what I'm saying? At a faster rate than inflation is going up. Because if that doesn't happen, then what are we doing? If that's not happening, then how are we truly going to get the success that we really want? If that's not happening, how are we really going to be able to, pass on generational wealth from generation to generation? How are we really going to be able to do that? These are the questions that we have to ask for ourselves. So it's time to generate true wealth. Because here's the deal. The barber industry is not going anywhere. They're saying it's going to be the fastest growing industry in the next 10 years. The fastest growing industry. So with it being the fastest growing industry, and we have our hands on it right now, how much opportunity is available for you when you're learning this craft and, you want to go ahead and teach the trade to somebody else? You know what I'm saying? When you're learning this trade and you're going through all of the ups and downs, you're going through all of the trials and tribulations, you're building your clientele, you're going out, passing out cards, passing out flyers, sending messages to people's DMs, trying to build clientele. You're doing all of these things, right? You're coming in early, you're staying in late, you're showing up for your appointments, whether your clients are showing up or not. Sometimes you get no shows. Sometimes people get caught up at work or things of that nature. Sometimes you get clients that are caught up because they were in a car accident. You know what I'm saying? And they couldn't make it that day, but they might be coming later on or the next day for their haircut. So you didn't get everything that you thought you were going to get for that day. You went through all of this, right? You're building yourself. You're building your people skills. You're building yourself as a person. You're building yourself as a businessman, as a businesswoman. And the more you stay in this game and the more time is going on, the more valuable you become. So with the value that is increasing because of you, right? And the value that you're bringing to this game, what are you doing with that value? What is your plan to do with that value? Hope it goes beyond just standing behind the chair, because your knowledge is going to be valuable. You know what I'm saying? Your abilities are going to be more and more valuable. So it's important for us to think about that. Are you going to eventually own your own shop? And if you have your own shop, are you just going to keep that one shop like they used to do back in the days for 30, 40, 50 years? Or are you going to expand? You know what I'm saying? And open up a second shop. Yeah, I know it's scary because it might be hard enough to handle the first one. But are you going to go ahead and open your second shop? When are you going to open your second shop? When are you going to open your third shop? When are you going to open your fourth, your fifth, your sixth, your seventh? Are you writing this down? When are you going to own your 20th shop? When are you going to open that? And have them all open, you know what I'm saying, at the same time, going at the same time. When are you going to open your barber school? When are you going to write that book? It's important for us to do these things. You know what I'm saying? If it's something that we know we are destined to do, so you can place yourself and your children in position of power. Because with everything I'm talking about, these are other opportunities where you are making your money work for you. You have the potential to make your money work for you. Because if you have your own shop, you're collecting booth rent, or you got a commission, situation going on. You have an opportunity to sell products out of the shop. You know what I'm saying? If you got a school, it's the same thing. You got students in there working, and they can't legally keep the money that they're making from the haircuts that they're doing. They can keep the tips, but they can't keep the money from the haircuts. So that's going to the school. You know what I'm saying? And then also, if you're selling products out of the school, students are using the products on their clients. They're using their products to go ahead and take care of services outside of school, so they're serving their own clients outside of school. clients are purchasing products. You got instructors that are purchasing products because they still may have clients that they're taking care of when they're not working at the school. So you got stuff flowing. You got stuff flowing. You can put an ATM in the school. So you're also making money off of that surcharge. You know what I'm saying? I'm giving you game right now. So that's money that's flowing. And then you can set up programs where you're teaching people how to cut hair. You're teaching people how to open up their own shop. You're teaching people also how to open their own school. And you could do that in many different forms. You know what I'm saying? You could set up digital products. You could set up so where they can, basically learn on their own, or you can go ahead and set up a coaching program where you're literally holding their hand through the whole process. What we have is going to be more and more valuable. So what you do with it is going to be up to you. What are you going to do with the value that you have? What you going to do with the value that you have? You could take some time and do what I'm doing right now, give stuff away for free. But if somebody wants to hit you up, they want to DM you, they want to call you, they want to put a comment in on one of your posts to just let you know, like, hey, I've learned some things off your free stuff. I made some money off your free stuff. So, you know what I mean? You got some program that I can get into and learn some more. These are the things you have the power to be able to do with what you have on your hand. So don't just get caught up and just having your head down, just cutting. Don't just get caught up and have your head down and life is passing you by, opportunities are passing you by, and you don't see what's going on. You missing the boat. I don't ever want you to miss the boat. I want you to catch this opportunity. You know what I'm saying? Because you're taking all this time to develop for a purpose. You're taking all this time to develop, and it's taking you somewhere where you're going to be so valuable. People, and you're going to be able to solve so many problems, answer so many questions that people are going to be willing to pay whatever. You know what I'm saying? Just for you to share what you know in one way, shape, or form. They're gonna be willing to pay whatever. Just for you to share what you know. So I hope I said something that'll help. Have your money working for you. And when you're investing, like Myra Golden says, you don't spend the mama money. Let that mama money make babies. You know what I'm saying? You spend the baby money and let the mama money keep making babies for you. You know what I'm saying? For you to make bigger investments, for you to be able to take vacations, for you to be able to pay for your dream car, collect assets, build that asset column that'll pay for all of the stuff you want instead of you coming out of your own pockets. Because at the end of the day, when you really study wealth, that doesn't make any sense. It's very elementary. You know what I'm saying? Build your asset column and let the assets that you build pay for your dream, pay for your goal, pay for your vision, the stuff that you really want to accomplish in your life. All right? So one last thing. Don't ever put a period in your business where you should put a comma. All right? I'll holler at y'all later. Peace and blessings.